Hello everyone, welcome to another recap of the Vampire Diaries Season 2, Episode 9 recap. Katerina. Vampire Diaries was on last night on the CW network, and last episode we left off with Stefan and Damon rescuing Elena from becoming a sacrifice to the original vampires. But we found out the Moonstone and her dope gang of blood would break the curse that the originals wanted to break. And of course, the original vampire Elijah that Stefan and Damon staked came back to life. And then of course we had Caroline and Tyler bonding over their supernaturalness and vowed not to reveal their secret to anyone. Now, before I get into this was an episode which has a lot of flashbacks. Don't get me wrong, I mean, I like the flashback stuff because it really tells the origins of the character from the series. And we saw that with Catherine with this episode. We went to flashbacks to 1492 in Bulgaria. Here, Caroline is Katerina Petrova and still a human. She was in the throes of childbirth. When the baby was born, the baby was taken away from her and she was banished to England, where she met Claus. When she realized who and what Claus wanted from her, she ran away from him. It turned out that the Petrova blood sealed the sun-moon curse, so it needed to be spilled again in order to break the curse. That's why the doppelganger was created. Trevor, of course, we all remember Trevor, who was the vampire that got beheaded in the last episode by Elijah, helped save her by telling her to run to a nearby cabin while he and two other vamps, one of them, Elijah, ran a different direction. At the cabin, Rose was there and fed Katerina her vampire blood in order to heal her wounds. Katerina informed Rose that she had stolen the Moonstone, and that's why they were after her. I mean, so Rose was pissed, and when Katerina's wounds were healed, Rose was going to give her back to Claus so he wouldn't come after her. Trevor showed up back at the cabin, and him and Rose got into a fight about Katerina. But Katerina snuck away from them and hung herself to turn into a vampire. They were just about to stake Katerina, but she grabbed the cabin owner, who got the stake instead and then fed off her. They accused Katerina of using them and that now they were to be killed. Katerina told them, "Better you die than me." That's why Rose and Trevor were on the run for 500 years from the originals, because of what Katerina or Kathleen did to them. Katerina returned to her home in Bulgaria, but she found out that her family had all been killed as retaliation to an escape in the sea. We actually saw Kat show some emotion here, especially how torn up she was about finding her poor mama's dead body. So let's get into the present day. Meanwhile, back in the present day in Mystic Falls, Elena was at Salvador finding out a bit more info about Claus. They told her that Claus is the oldest vampire of all time, and he was after Elena. But she was frustrated at Stefan, who tried to reassure her that Claus didn't know she existed, especially after Rose said that Claus would go after what he wanted. So Elena and Caroline went down to the tomb and chatted with Catherine to get more info about Claus. Kat told Caroline to go away so she could speak to Elena on her own. These were some really great scenes, and even though it was the same actress playing both characters, it worked really well. Nina Dobrev, if I did not butcher that last name, has amazing chemistry with herself. Anyway, Elena bribed Caroline with sips of blood and we got some of the above history from her. So even though the actual Petrova history book didn't say Caroline had a baby, she confirmed that she did. Elena also found out that to break the curse, Caroline needed the services of the werewolf, which was now Mason, but we all remember now Mason's dead. Who's the new werewolf in town? Tyler. Which Bonnie, doppelganger, and Elena in the vampire Caroline. So we didn't find out if all those elements needed to die, but it seemed that way. Elena was terrified. More of her friends and family would be hurt, and Caroline offered her a way out and opened her wrist so Elena could drink the vampire's blood. Stefan showed up even though Caroline was trying to stall him. Stefan was pissed at Caroline and told her that she probably planned all of this because that meant they had to unseal the tomb to get the moonstone back. He called her a psychotic bitch. But Caroline informed him that she didn't stick herself in the vampire's tomb and that the tomb was the safest place to be because when the vampires showed up, they wouldn't want to get stuck in there. And she said that she would be the safest psychotic bitch. Take that, Stefan. She's right. Later, Caroline looked through her family's book and found a drawing of her parents and herself. She lovingly touched it. Outside Elena's house, Stefan tried to console her and told her he would protect her, but Elena told him that she was the reason why her friends and family were in danger. They hugged, realizing the truth and the scariness of the situation. Meanwhile, on to some other storylines from last night's episode. Jeremy and Bonnie seemed like they were flirting on the way into school. And then Jeremy invited Bonnie to hang out that night at the grill. But on their way, they met a new student named Luca. He seemed to be eyeing Bonnie, and since they were both African American, it looked like she might be more into him than Jeremy. At the grill, Luca and his father, Dr. Martin, who was another black man, invited Bonnie to sit with them while she waited for Jeremy. The Martins said they were from Louisiana. Then the father asked Bonnie if she was related to the Bennetts from Salem, since he got to know them when he was working on his medical residency in Massachusetts. She got a bit weirded out and took off with Jeremy, but not without first touching the son. Later on, she sat with Luca. He spilled some salt, made it float, and said he was a warlock. So not only do we have a witch in Mystic Falls, but we got a warlock now. And it seems like they were bonded. Jeremy saw them flirting and left the grill. Alright, Damon and Rose, they met up with Slater, the vamp who connected her and Trevor to Elijah at a cafe in Richmond. They wanted his help to get in touch with Claus and figure out why he wanted to break the sun-moon curse. Damon questioned why the originals wanted to break the curse, since they probably knew about bewitched rings and let them walk around in daylight anyway. Slater said if they broke the sun curse, the werewolves would still be stuck with the moon curse. Then Damon wondered if they could render the moonstone useless somehow to annoy the originals so they wouldn't be able to walk around in the sun. But guess who shows up? Elijah, outside the cafe, and listened in on their conversation. Then Elijah threw some coins at the double-pane glass and shattered the window like a bomb blast, which was pretty awesome, to say the very least. Rose got exposed to the sun and started burning up, but Slater ran away. Damon covered Rose up and took her to the car. They never saw Elijah. Later at the Salvador mansion, the two decided to turn off their emotions, switches, her for Trevor and him for Elena, and get it on. But afterwards, Rose got a call from Slater and Damon listened in. Slater told him he was fine and that he knew how to destroy the curse. They just had to get the Moonstone and a witch. It sounded good to them. And here goes final seeds. But once Slater hung up, Elijah was there at his house, and Slater asked Elijah how Elijah could compel him since he was a vampire. Elijah said he was a special vampire. What? Then Elijah compelled Slater to stake himself. But Elijah wasn't alone. Right next to him was the Black Warlock father, Dr. Martin, the one that met Bonnie at the grill. I guess these two were in cahoots, and we have to wait until December to find out more, which actually frustrates me, because we want to see what is happening more with the, Elijah and Dr. Martin. Is he working with the originals? We're gonna have to wait and see what happens, folks. Now, the next new episode is gonna be December 2nd. Yeah. So 2 weeks of repeats, which actually sucks to say the very least, but it is what it is. And then they have another new episode December 9th, and that's probably going to be the last new episode because of the holiday season. So that's the 2 dates I can confirm. December 2nd and December 9th going to be new episodes of the Vampire Diaries. So we're stuck without Vampire Diaries for another 2 weeks, which sucks. But anyways, thanks for watching this video, and hopefully I do some reviews on some movies. I know I don't come on this a lot on the YouTube. I'm always on my other screen name, SLB 2008-09, so check that out, folks. So until then, you know the routines, everybody. Hugs and hand pounds, and I am out.